Hi everyone, this is Justina. Welcome to my podcast. Thank you for your time and let's dive in. It's going to be a quick but dense episode on mindfulness at work. Or the actual question is, how do we do it? Like, how do we bring that mindfulness to work? Like, can we do it? Because obviously, yes, we're working on ourselves and sometimes that is the work we do alone and it's very important. But sometimes, and I think this is where it gets really difficult, right? We have to work on certain things with other people. And maybe you've noticed how sometimes you think, at least, that you've reached a stage when you're like, well, I feel okay with myself. I feel good about myself when I'm alone. You know, my mind is not too busy, not too negative. You know, I feel like I'm doing well. But then, hey, it's only when you're with other people when you can see how you are with other people. And it's obviously really difficult to navigate those interpersonal relationships. That's just the most difficult thing to do in the world. It's complicated. So if you're working on yourself, you're working on mindfulness, that's really cool. Yes, a big chunk of my podcast is on that. So I'm a big fan. But then it's time to go to work, to some workplace, a nice organization, maybe have a small team. If it's just you, then it's actually a different story. Maybe you don't need to listen to this episode, but I recommend you still stick around. And so how do we bring that mindfulness? How do we stay those kind, thoughtful, empathetic, helpful, good listeners, and so on at work? Because I know it can be difficult. And I wanted to suggest one framework to you. It's nothing shocking, and you might have read about it somewhere else, but it's a nice framework. It's a very simple suggestion. And the suggestion is this. No matter what your position is, no matter if you are in a leadership role or not, I recommend you try to look at yourself as leaders. Why? Well, one thing, because we always have some power, like we have that influence on others, right? And a very political definition of power would be you can affect change. So let's say if you can affect change in someone's behavior, that is some kind of a power that you have, hence influence. So if you're in an actual leadership position, like it's your official title, then you have even more power, of course. But even if your title doesn't imply that, you can be a leader. And you can see yourself as a leader for sure. You don't need to wait for anyone to give you that permission slip to do certain things, to behave with people in a certain way. And what is that I'm talking about? So I say, if you start seeing yourself as a leader, then you can start asking yourself interesting, empowering questions. And I really don't want this to sound arrogant, but imagine if the people you work with, imagine if you were like their secret mentor, or if you were actually managing them, how would you treat them? And this is where I assume that you're a nice person. And if you're super insecure and you want always to exert power over people, oh my God, you should not be a manager. Jesus, consider something else. Work on your insecurities. So if you saw your colleagues like that, how could you help them? How could you serve them? How could you empower them? Are there any ways in which you could equip them better, right? For them to do their job better? Is there anything that you can do for them? And I understand that you might not be in a position to say, hey, let me give you better tools to do your job. You really might not be in that position. But I think these are good questions to ask. And also, yeah, that's not all that a leader does, right? Yes, leaders, they create a vision for the company. They, get people on board, they get people excited, ideally, right? They should really have the tools. They should really be able to equip their teams. And they should obviously show that empathy, care about the actual people, not just the head count, and so on. But what happens when you start seeing yourself as a leader? Once again, not in any kind of arrogant, like I'm better than you, I'm going to exert power over you way. What I'm describing here is an identity shift. And if you've gone through Unlocked and in Lockdown, which is my free 7-day challenge, and on day 8, which is a bonus day, so if you haven't gone through that, I've just revealed to you that there's a bonus day and it's not going to be a surprise. But I talk about action. And the quote of that day is, identity fuels action. And I think it's such a powerful quote. I think it's been said by multiple people. I myself got it from It was definitely either Tony Robbins or Brendon Burchard, two huge names in personal development, so I wish that was my quote, but I'm so glad that it's a known idea for me now. That's why I wanted to share it with you. And I think it works in so many ways, like how you see yourself, so important. So if I see myself in a certain way, what does a person who is like that actually do? And this is something that applies here. And this is something that I think applies so nicely, not just at work, but also at work. What action is your identity fueling? What a great question, isn't it? I'm so excited about this question. I want to see where my answers to that question take me. And honestly, I've been on the road to a weird destination or of no destination for some years. You know, when you're kind of doing something and if you're being honest with yourself, it's not aligned. It's not aligned with how you see yourself. And it causes tension, and I think it causes suffering. It sounds like I was on some horrible rough path, like crime, violence. No, but I just wasn't doing what I knew that I should be doing. But I hadn't shifted my identity, and very little action was fueled by that. So, my advice for you, try to see yourself as a leader and see what stems from that. See how you treat your colleagues, see how you are at work. If that helps for you to bring that mindfulness, to bring that empathy, to bring that kindness to work, that deep listening. A lot of things, right? It can bring a lot of things. And I know that that's not all that's needed to create an atmosphere that's a little bit kinder at work. A lot is needed. Many things don't depend on you, but some things do. So, see what happens. Try it. And my action to you is a promise that there are more episodes coming on this topic. Mindfulness at work, work environments. Why? Because it's so important, it's a big deal, and we have to talk about it. So thank you so much for your time. Go be a leader. Don't wait for a permission slip. Do it. Take that action. And I'll see you in my upcoming episodes. Thank you so much.